All right, but moving on with the show here. Big news in the SEC West because Texas A&M has landed their defensive coordinator and they stayed in division to get it done. DJ Durkin, Ole Miss defensive coordinator, no more, on his way to College Station. And it's interesting because this is twice now. A&M stole their AD, now they're stealing their defensive coordinator. Man, do we got mass? We already had turnover here in Oxford. Jeff Lebby off to Oklahoma. DJ Durkin now off to Ole Miss. Wilson Love, the strength coach, off to Oregon. Matt Corral, of course, off to the NFL. Jaron Ely, the same. A lot of turnover there for Lane Kiffin. So, man, who knows what the Ole Miss Rebels are going to look like next season. But, there's going to be some difficult decisions that are going to have to be made. And Lane Kiffin's got to nail some of these hires to keep the momentum going. And it's not often you see two coordinators leave a program and neither one of them promoted to a head coaching position. Both left for other coordinator roles. Not sure, don't want to read too much into that. Jeff Lebby going to Oklahoma. He's an Oklahoma graduate, so that makes sense. DJ Durkin, I don't know, he's going to have a lot more talent to work with there at A&M. That was probably part of it. But Ole Miss, I don't think they get enough credit for the turnaround they had on the field this season. Just look at the key stat of the game. How many points you allow? 2020, Ole Miss was god awful. 38.3 points allowed per game. You're not going to win many ball games like that. Ole Miss had to win some shootouts. Completely different story this year. Ole Miss allowed 24.7 points per game. So 2 touchdowns better. That is just an incredible turnaround. And of course, the 2020 year was the COVID year, so defense across the board was down. So, man, just a really impressive job there that DJ Durkin was able to do with those Rebels. And I would even argue that the defense there in Oxford was probably on equal footing with the offense. Now, maybe that's not fair because Matt Corral got injured, and the second half of the season severely limited. Of course, he had his heroics there. He tried to come back he did come back in the Auburn game, was not able to come back in the Sugar Bowl, but, that certainly played a large role in Ole Miss offense not quite having the season they expected, but this is all about the defense, man. I went back and looked at Ole Miss' schedule, and 8 of their games, they held opponents to fewer points than their season average. So right off the bat, Louisville, they averaged 31.6 per game. Ole Miss held them to 24. Tulane averaged 27 points per game. Ole Miss held them to 21. Tennessee, here's a big one. They averaged 39.3 points per game, scored only 26 on Ole Miss. LSU averaged 26.5 points per game, scored only 17 on Ole Miss. Liberty averaged 33.6 points per game. They scored only 14 against Ole Miss. Texas A&M, here's a big one. Maybe this is why Jimbo looked over there and hired him. Averaged 29.3 points per game. The Aggies scored only 19 against Ole Miss. Mississippi State averaged 29.1 points. They scored only 21. And Baylor, how about this one? They averaged 31.6 points per game. They scored only 14. Of course, you got to throw in the pick six there by Luke Altmaier. But, man, this looks to be a hell of a pickup here. And, I'm very much in the boat that the players matter a hell of a lot more than coaches in college football. And DJ Durkin's going to have him quite the number of elite, talented players, not just in the recent signing clause, but still on the roster to work with. So Texas A&M should be poised to be, again, one of the better defenses in the SEC as long as DJ Durkin can come in and adjust right away and there's not a big transition. Hey, but that's not the only A&M news here. More good news for the Aggies because Anaya Smith, their outstanding receiver and return man, he has announced he is coming back for another season. He had 47 catches, 509 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, along with 259 punt return yards and a touchdown via return. And, hey, Aggie fans, I know you'll love this. He ended his statement here, let's go win us a natty. So, man, that's big for Texas A&M. Really good day for the Aggies here all Wednesday. Just a nice little boost heading into the offseason for them Texas A&M Aggies.